let's start. And I want to start with a story. I'm going to tell you a story about a man named Jonas Hanway, who in 1750s, remember, was the first man to walk around London with an umbrella. And he was publicly shamed. People threw trash at him, they heckled him. Why? Because he wasn't getting wet. Getting wet was seen as an authentic human experience in the rain, and staying dry was not. By choosing to stay dry, he was subtly challenging the accepted idea of what it meant to be human in this context, and for this he was mocked. Now, I love this story because it shows how small, seemingly trivial shifts in our behaviour can challenge our very ideas about humanity. And we've got a new story coming at us, and it's quite a big one, and it doesn't just change what it means, how we live, it changes the very nature of what we think intelligence and life actually are. And think about this. For a long time, we've relied on biology and physical matter as the basis of life. But now there's a new idea, and this idea is that at the foundation of life and intelligence lies information. And think about this, information is everywhere. It's in our DNA, it's in the signals between our neurons, it's in the algorithms that mediate our daily life. And if information is the foundation, then computation is the mechanism by which intelligence, agency, and even consciousness arise. And this is a profound shift, because what it says is that the lines are blurring between artificial intelligence and biological intelligence. That intelligence might not just be a feature of wetware like our brains, but that it could come from other places like self-organizing, self-replicating software, or AI agents. And we call this shift the artificiality. We named it. And what we talk about is a different kind of way of thinking about the human experience that describes more about what it's going to be like to live surrounded by entities that challenge our very idea of what it means to be human and even to be alive. And we think about this in terms of sort of 5 key experiences: intimacy, spatiality, knowledge, consciousness, and minds.
Let's start with intimacy. For the last 20 years or so, we've lived in the attention economy, where we've paid with our attention to get content from our digital services. We think this is shifting. We're shifting from an attention economy to an intimacy economy, one in which we will trade an intimate understanding of ourselves for AI services that promise to make our lives easier. Now, this idea here, it has quite a lot of promise, right? You've probably experienced some of this already. When you're using an AI conversational agent, you chat with it, you tell it your needs, your wants, you express your future desires, your fears, your dreams. It's this deep understanding of you that allows the machine to understand the context of you, to interpret the intent of your interaction, and even to take action on your behalf. Now, this holds quite a lot of promise, right? An AI that understands you that well could create an interaction that just feels intuitive, understanding your needs before you voice them. But there's also quite a lot of peril. We've seen how the attention economy has dug down deep into our focus, fracking our attention into tiny tradable bits, dissolving the value that it's trying to mine out. What would happen if this same extractive economic idea is applied to our intimacy? Will our most private and personal selves be mined and commoditized like our attention has been? Will data mining evolve into life mining? We hope that people are able to opt into the intimacy economy through a concept we call the intimacy surface. It's this multi-dimensional space where humans and AI meet. And the space is reactive to how much trust we have, expanding and contracting based on how much we want to reveal. The more the machine understands, the more it can serve you. But the trade-off is also clear. The more context we provide, the more risk we take, making the trust that we have in the companies that manage our intimacy the foundational metric of the intimacy economy. The second theme for us is spatiality, how we relate to space around us, how we understand it, even how we think. We don't just place physical objects in space, we place ideas as well. When we explain concepts, we'll often use spatial metaphors, closer, higher, deeper, to make sense of the world. Our ability to navigate and comprehend space shapes how we understand and experience everything, our environment and our ideas. Now, this all too has quite a lot of promise, right? An AI might be able to add a new dimension on top of our natural three-dimensional understanding and limitations. An AI might be able to show us the hidden structures of a building or explain the history of a location or even show us the hidden complex dynamics of a human network of relationships. But there's also peril in this one too. These devices that we're using, whether they're the maps or directions on our phone, or there are these emerging glasses that lay new digital overlays on top of the physical world, these devices are creating an abstraction that's separating us from that world. Instead of deepening our connection to the physical world, these technologies can also abstract, mediate us from that world, pulling us back from the very things we're trying to comprehend.
Our third is knowledge. And our knowledge comes from our community, from the interactions we have with others, and from the people that we live with. And this gives us an illusion that we know more than we do. But that also means that we often fail to recognize just how much of our knowledge is collective. Historically, we put our knowledge into other people or into external systems like databases and libraries, and we retrieve it when we need it. But increasingly, we're putting our collective knowledge into systems that aren't just passive storage systems, they're actually active participants. And this means that as we develop these knowledge systems, as we develop our knowledge capabilities, that we give them what we give them, they compute over, and increasingly act with a degree of agency over that information. And this brings us to a concept that we call the knowledgeome. It's an ecosystem of knowledge, a bit like a biome, and where humans and machines coexist. And just as we're not independent from the bacteria in our gut, we're no longer separate from the knowledge-creating capabilities of these systems. Now, the thing that makes AI uniquely valuable is that it can generate this non-intuitive knowledge. It can generate it can understand patterns and see things in data that we can't see, make discoveries. When AI makes discoveries, it's often quite inhuman in its reasoning, if you like. And what this means is that there's both a thrill to that, and it's very unsettling at the same time. So on one hand, there's huge gains. We get the potential for discoveries and breakthroughs that we couldn't do ourselves. But on the other, there's a sense that we're losing ownership over our own knowledge. And that has always been a deeply social and human endeavor. So as our communities become populated, if you like, by these knowledge-creating machines and entities, it changes our perception of what it even means to know something. Our fourth is consciousness, which is a really big topic. And it's a very active active topic in terms of research at the moment, a lot of controversial theories of consciousness, and the ambitious objective to create machine consciousness. And no doubt, if we manage to, as a species, create conscious machines, we would no doubt learn a lot about consciousness itself. We think that we don't want to lose sight, and we like thinking about Thomas Nagel's famous question, what is it like to be a bat? In this case, it's what would it be like to be a machine? And going further, perhaps machines will help us understand what we recognize as a conscious entity. What are the qualities that signal the mind to us, and how do we fail to perceive it? And there's potential that if consciousness is an illusion, then maybe machines can help us understand others' illusions, contribute more to our collective consciousness, our collective knowledge, and collective intelligence, as opposed to making us collectively more stupid. I think too that there's a question about the interaction with AI itself, and that really intrigues us. Is there something about the interaction with AI that can shift our perception of where our consciousness begins and ends? Now, there's an enormous amount of room here for speculation. Some of it's pretty fun. The one that I find the most fun is imagining what it would be like for machines to extend our sensorium. What if we had access to more and different senses to extend our umwelt? I wonder what it would be like to be my dog, or a bee, or an octopus, or maybe even that bat. And a final idea I'll leave you with here is perhaps machines could absorb our consciousness, maybe become conscious through us. Whatever the answer, whatever happens, this will force us to confront new dimensions of mind, and as the boundaries between our thoughts and theirs blur.
Our final theme is minds. Now, this story begins in the 1970s, when Scientific American published research about the relative efficiency of movement of different species. We humans on our own are pretty unremarkable. But put us on a bicycle and we can fly like a condor. This bicycle, this simple tool, dramatically elevates us beyond our natural limitations. Now, Steve Jobs loved this idea, and he called the computer a bicycle for our minds. Just like a bicycle can extend us beyond our physical abilities, a computer extends us beyond our cognitive abilities, allowing our minds to fly too. But machines aren't simple tools like bicycles anymore that we control and direct. They're becoming autonomous systems that have the ability to understand, to reason, to act. We're giving them agency to set and seek goals. They're becoming minds themselves. So we've adapted Steve's metaphor. We don't talk about designing a bicycle for the mind anymore. We talk about designing minds for our minds. And perhaps the most important design consideration in that phrase are the two little words in the middle, for our. Will these future minds work for us, or will these future minds extract from us and make us the product as we've been in the attention economy? Now, we dream of minds that know us well enough to know when to step back, give us space, or don't just help us function, but help us flourish. That don't extract from us, but collaborate with us and make our lives more meaningful. Now, you all may think we're crazy, and we may be. But as Steve said, the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones that do. So, thank you for joining us here on our crazy journey and trying to help us imagine a positive and hopeful future with AI.